Before you read this, answer honestly. What would you do if your entire family cut you off overnight just because you said no once? Would you apologize to keep them? Or walk away and lose everything? Tell me in the comments, because 2 years ago, I made a choice that destroyed my father's future, and I don't regret it. My name is Alara Quinn. I'm 31, and the last time my father spoke to me as his daughter, it wasn't even a conversation. It was a text message. 6 words. You are no longer my daughter. No call. No explanation. Just 6 words that erased 31 years like they meant nothing. And the worst part? He didn't do it alone. Within minutes, my phone filled with messages from my mother, my brother, and my aunts. Every single one of them backed him up. Not one asked what happened. Not one asked for my side. All because I refused to add 4 names to my wedding guest list. 4 kids I barely knew. 4 extra seats I didn't have. 4 people who somehow mattered more than me. That's all it took to lose my entire family. For 2 years there was silence. Not dramatic silence. Not angry silence. Just nothing. Birthdays passed. Holidays came and went. I got married. I had a baby. And not one of them showed up. Not one of them called. Until the day my father needed something from me. And when he came back, it wasn't with an apology. It wasn't because he missed me. It was because I had something he couldn't access without me. A signature. And when I gave him my answer, 4 simple words, his entire retirement plan collapsed. But to understand why, you need to go back. Before the wedding. Before the text. Before everything broke. You need to understand my grandmother. Ruth Quinn was the kind of woman who made you feel safe without trying. She lived alone in a small house, with a garden that gave more than she could ever use, and she gave the rest away like it was nothing. She never kept score. She never made love feel conditional. When she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, it didn't feel real. She had always been strong, steady, permanent, but cancer doesn't care about that. I stayed with her during her final weeks, slept on her couch, cooked meals she barely touched, and one afternoon, just days before she passed, she grabbed my hand with surprising strength and said something I didn't understand at the time. I set something aside for you. Belongs to them. I thought she meant jewelry or the house, something simple. I didn't realize she had just changed my entire future. 2 years later, after everything fell apart, I received a letter from a financial firm, an inherited retirement account. My name listed as the sole beneficiary, not my father, not anyone else, just me. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I filed it away and moved on with my life. That was my mistake, because while I wasn't thinking about that money, my father was. You see, my father didn't become this person overnight. He changed slowly over years after he remarried. His new wife came with 4 kids, and suddenly everything became about them. Expectations shifted, boundaries disappeared. I was expected to show up for everything. Birthdays, events, random weekends. And I did. For years I said yes to everything, even when it cost me time, money, or peace, because saying no wasn't allowed. And when I finally said no, just once, it was like flipping a switch. The wedding was small, 60 guests, every seat counted. My father demanded I add his stepkids. I told him I couldn't. He gave me an ultimatum. All of them come or I don't. I thought he was bluffing. He wasn't. 14 hours before I walked down the aisle, my phone buzzed. 6 words, you are no longer my daughter. I read it again and again, waiting for something else. A call, an explanation, a mistake. Nothing came, just silence. And then the messages started. My mother telling me to apologize. My brother saying I ruined everything. My aunts calling me selfish. One even said my grandmother would be ashamed of me. That one hurt the most, not because I believed it, but because I knew it wasn't true. My grandmother was the only person who loved me without conditions. I sat on the bathroom floor holding my wedding dress in my hands, and something inside me changed. Not anger, not even sadness, clarity. I turned off my phone. I got up. I took a shower. And the next day I got married anyway. The wedding was beautiful. There were lights and music and laughter, but there were also empty chairs. Chairs with my family's names on them. Chairs no one filled. I walked down the aisle with my father-in-law instead, a man who chose to show up when mine didn't. That day I didn't just lose my family. I saw exactly what I meant to them. Nothing if I didn't comply. 2 years passed quietly. I built a life without them. I got promoted. We bought a house. Daughter. And in that quiet, I started to heal. Then one afternoon, my phone rang. My father's name. I stared at it until it stopped ringing. He left a voicemail. His voice was warm, familiar. He said he missed me, that he wanted to fix things. And then casually he mentioned paperwork, a document, something I needed to sign. That's when everything clicked. I pulled out that old letter from my grandmother's account and finally paid attention. I asked someone who understood what it meant. The answer was simple. That money belonged to me. Completely. No one could touch it without my permission. And my father? He had built his entire retirement around it. He never asked, he assumed. Because I had always said yes, so he didn't need permission. He just needed my signature. That's why he came back. Not for me, for the money. The calls started again. My mother, my brother, my aunts, all suddenly wanting to reconnect. All talking about family and forgiveness. None of them mentioned the document, but I knew. They weren't reaching out because they loved me. They were reaching out because they needed me. The final moment came at my daughter's first birthday. They all showed up together. Smiles, gifts, warm words. And then my father stood up in front of everyone, pulled out an envelope, and placed it in front of me. Just a quick signature, he said. He thought I wouldn't say no in front of everyone. He thought I'd fold. I looked at that envelope, then at my daughter, and I said, not today. But he didn't stop. He scheduled a meeting with his lawyer, expected me to show up, expected me to sign. That morning I stayed home. I made coffee. I sat in my kitchen. My daughter played nearby. My phone kept buzzing. Where are you? We're waiting. Don't do this. I picked it up, typed 4 words. I am not signing. I hit send, and went back to my coffee. That was it. 4 words, the same number it took him to try to erase me. Only mine didn't erase him. They just removed his control. Everything after that unfolded exactly how you'd expect. His plan collapsed. The money he counted on didn't exist for him anymore. His early retirement disappeared. He had to go back to work, years longer than he planned. And suddenly everyone who supported him started turning on each other. Because when the benefit disappears, so does the loyalty. My mother lost her financial support. My brother had to stand on his own. The aunts went silent. And me, I stayed exactly where I was, at peace. Take expect. They think saying no will break you, that you'll feel guilty. But what I felt was relief. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one holding everything together at my own expense. I wasn't the one sacrificing to keep the peace. I wasn't the one being used. I just stopped participating. And everything that fell apart after that, it was never mine to hold together. I didn't ruin my father's future. He did that the moment he built it on the assumption that I didn't have a choice, that I would always say yes. But I do. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say isn't long, it isn't loud, it isn't emotional. It's just 4 words. No, I'm not signing.